You have to have someone who does engagement, like what we call like openers, setters, and closers. And I think that was...
We know how to do that physically, and we know the importance of good real estate and location in any kind of hospitality business. But how do we do that now digitally?
Well, we just got back from South Africa. So it was like 90 to 100 degrees during the day, sitting on safari, looking for animals.
Like, when else am I going to get to stay at an elephant safari camp or go on this amazing like garden road, whatever? But then you see the business opportunity where...
And most people just want to be seen. And I think that engagement piece is, like you said, it's broken down. Opener, setter, and a closer. And those are three different positions. And the way that I understand it...
Miami, New York, Atlanta, LA, and it's probably way harder to stand out, right? Because
if I wasn't drinking coffee at my place, I'd be drinking coffee at their place. Like, you don't have to be competitive. You can be complimentary.
Who's the first person that anybody, and those are both, high-end resorts, the first person that they are going to interact with when they show up at the resort?
It's like that's just missing a whole channel of content. Is that a feast or famine market? Is it that there's so much work all the time that they don't care?
How difficult would it be then to click on your profile, look at your stories, and see that you're in the area?
So what does that opener need? They need to know exactly who your avatar is. They need to know who your dream clients are. They need to know how much time they can spend and what is the script that they need to follow. Because this is not make-believe stuff. This is...
So that's the opener. What's the difference between them and the setter?
The setter is, I think...
Yeah, that's why there's a recipe. And I think there's times, for that creativity, but something that needs to be done day in, day out that relies on cultivating an experience that's going to be...
So don't be afraid to post. Just be afraid to post if you're not being a man to answer.
Yeah, if you're not going to do engagement, you shouldn't be posting at all. Like, there's no reason to it, because you actually stand a bigger chance of actually doing harm to your business.
It's just a matter of how complicated and how much deal flow you have, right?
How difficult would it be to just start those conversations, and what would that be worth to your business?
Is your business qualified to run internship?
That's opportunity cost. If we were doing it, we'd be making X. We're not doing it, and now there's just a gap between us and everyone else that actually is doing the work.
Well, welcome to the show, bro. We're glad you all turned in.
Welcome to the show, bro.
Hot AI chick.
Hot AI chick. Dude, you like landed literally this morning, and you're just like, dude, I have too much to share with the people about what I have seen across the globe. Tell me, what did you see on the other hemisphere? Is it hemisphere? What is it when you're south? I don't know if it's hemisphere or where.
Shit, bro. It was spring going into summer is where I was. You know, and I'm sitting in my treehouse right now, and it's freezing. But we just got back from South Africa, so it was like 90 to 100 degrees during the day, sitting on safari, looking for animals. Trying to do some tracking, trying to find some luxury bites, some eats, some drinks. The country itself is a beautiful one, right? South Africa. We went pretty much from Joburg, and there's Kruger National Park up on kind of the farther eastern Cape and northern part of South Africa, down to Cape Town, which is the Western Cape. And then, so we started in safari in the Kruger National Park at a place called Lion Sands in Sabi Sabi. And that was kind of like a cool luxury owned by the Moore Collection. And they do a pretty good job. Their experience is tight. Hospitality, luxury. It's the way that you kind of want to be treated, in a resort on a safari. And I think it's one of the rarities for stuff. And then we ended 3 weeks later on another safari with a group called the Hunter Hotels. And they have a property called Gora Elephant Camp. And that was right at the end of the garden route. So we drove the garden route from Cape Town to basically Addo Elephant Park. So it was a pretty cool trip. We did lots of little flying trips here and there between Joburg and Cape Town, and then drove like maybe 8, 9 hours along the coast and saw it all. So it was pretty cool.
That
And it's
sounds
freezing here.
epic. Yeah. And then you went from summer to freezing cold, winter, holiday, Christmas. I mean, I guess technically still Christmas down there. It just happens to be hot Christmas.
Yeah, well, it was crazy, man. Like they're like really, it's an amazing country of people that are super nice and super hospitable, but they don't have cocktails down worth the hell. It's like it feels like you're at like a Disney resort where everywhere you go has the same cocktail list.
Yeah.
And I want to fix it so bad. Like that was the one part that just drove me nuts. And it helped me not drink so many cocktails, but what are you supposed to do when you're on vacation? Like,
yeah, so I bet going to somewhere like that, where like, okay, some of these experiences, like when else am I going to get to stay at an elephant safari camp or go on this amazing like garden road, whatever. But then you see the business opportunity where, gosh, these guys could be world class in like in their world with cocktails with just a couple little tweaks, and all of a sudden they would be totally separate from the rest of the world. Where you go to somewhere like Miami, New York, Atlanta, LA, and it's probably way harder to stand out, right? Because like there's so many good places to go for a good cup of coffee or an amazing cocktail or bottle of wine.
100%. Well, that's just missing a whole channel of content, right? I mean, if you got a decent cocktail or a mixologist on program, I mean, that's one post per week that could find you people like me who want to come in and spend money and participate at your location, right? And instead, I get the same menu: Long Island iced tea, pina colada, mojito. I mean, espresso martini is still not really found its way. And that's what's really interesting, is that it just leaves a gap in what not only content but guest experience, because you've got these worldly travelers. So what they end up drinking is just resorting back to like vodka soda, scotch on the rocks, and bourbon hasn't even made it down there. There was like Woodford and a little bit of Buffalo Trace, and Jack Daniels really was like the only American whiskey. It's crazy. But from a hotel and resort perspective, they all do the same exact content, and they recycle the same photos back and forth, and it's really nothing engaging. And that was the part to me, is like, is that a feast or famine market? Is it that there's so much work all the time that they don't care about attracting new business? Or is it just an unknown toolkit or skill set that they don't find valuable just yet? And, I think we're gobbling up content left and right, and everyone's trying to have like the prettiest cocktail, imagery, or the best food shots, and, food and drink porn, so it's a really interesting space. And then you start to do the messaging and DMing. I mean, it's hard when you're traveling to like make phone calls to people, because they're like using WhatsApp, and we're, on Instagram, and trying to like verify what kind of offering they have. Their websites can be good to mediocre, sometimes great, but there's no one on the other line. There's no way to contact or reach them, so it's that part of the engagement system was like kind of broken. And I feel like that's, kind of a universal problem now.
Yeah. And what I think's interesting, and we were talking a lot about this before the show today, but it didn't dawn on me till you just kind of shared that experience. If you were to take any of your chef owner buddies, owners, wineries, distilleries, breweries, bagel shop, doesn't matter. Anybody that knows a thing or two about hospitality, food and wine, food and beverage, if they were to go on that safari with you, they'd probably notice the same things that you notice, of like, wow, this experience is amazing. Their drink menu sucks because it's the same everywhere. Like, how easy would it be to compete if you just had a better cocktail menu, or you just had a better this, right? Because that's what that group, that's what you're attuned to. Like, what is you're your level of taste is attuned to this, and you see the opportunity of, hey, if everybody is offering Long Island iced tea, pina colada, and that's like all that's on their drink menu, and I came in and provided something different, I'm going to take everyone else's business because they're going to want to come to my spot. What stood out to me is that like it's so obvious when it comes to the cocktail menu, the food menu, those kind of hospitality experiences, but that's the exact same thing that you and I see when it comes to engagement in social media. So when we go into social media land and we look in, whether it be in the US or internationally, because it's the same problem, it's the same, everybody's content, it's like they are just offering Long Island iced tea, pina colada, forget what you said what the third one was, vodka soda.
Eggs Benedict.
Like,
and Eggs Benny. It's everywhere. It's the same thing again and again.
Like, imagine every restaurant had that. Like, when you and I look at social media, like, that's the exact same thing that we see. We're like, guys, it'd be so easy to stand out with just a little bit of extra effort because everybody is posting the same photos, doing the same thing, missing the same engagement cues, that if you just did a couple of the things that we talk about, you're going to be like the resort in South Africa that now has the banging cocktail menu as opposed to everyone else, or the killer like brunch menu because everyone else is just doing Eggs Benny.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is it's when you're sitting there and you're looking at like, all right, I'm going to spend $500 a room night or $700 a room night or $1,000 a night on Safari. You guarantee that I'm looking at your website. I'm looking at what I'm going to be sleeping in. And I feel like I'm looking at what I'm going to eat and what I'm going to drink while I'm there. It's a full package, especially if it's all inclusive, And if it's expensive and exclusive, that means that I'm going to have to spend more on site. And, that's no fun to like feel like you're like, I would pay more for a better program. And I think that's what I feel like in the US. I feel like we're a little spoiled and that like, we get it. We have to have the best mixologist. We have to have the best program. We have to stand out. We got to have photos. We got to spend money on it. But we don't really know how to turn that into engagement and into conversion, right? We'll post it all out there, and we think that makes us a little bit different. But if I'm traveling through South Africa or I'm here in the States and I like that photo of that cocktail that I see, that old smoked fat, old fashioned smash that has a, Safari smash riff on it. And I'm going to like it because I want to remember what I liked as a post. Mm-hmm. That gives that account or that resort a reason to reach out to me and say, were you considering coming here and having a night with us?
I was like, if everybody's stuff is the same, like if you already know you have to have like an expert mixologist, you've got to have a banging menu, like you have to have all of these things, then what's going to separate you? That's the only thing that's going to actually separate you, cause you to stand out, is then, okay, you like the photo of that cocktail and then your host sends a DM through your Instagram account that's, we talked about in some of the other episodes, like those different levels of compliments and depth that you can go into. Like now all of a sudden that's the thing where you stand out because again, everybody has a mixologist on staff. Everybody has an awesome menu. And now when it comes to like, which, as a patron, where am I going to spend my night, my weekend, whatever, it's going to be, well, who makes me feel like I want to come back? Like who's top of mind, and usually being top of mind is also like top of heart. Like, oh, this resort actually reached out. I remember like they responded to my comment or sent me a DM. Sometimes it's like, so like, that's all that it has to be. It doesn't have to be anything crazy.
It's engagement. It starts a conversation. It's like, hey, I see you. Thanks for seeing us. Now what's next? And I think that's the skill set of me being like, well, I am here in South Africa. I would like to come to your property. We're looking at maybe doing it. It went from me liking a cocktail picture or liking a food dish.
Yep. Because
I'm not going to like some 800 count fret, like cotton sheets, even though I'm looking for that stuff, But if they see me post on, or comment or like on a cocktail or something that's interesting, chances are they're probably going to earn my business just by having a few conversations with me. And what does that take? I mean, well, I guess you could spend $100 for a conversion on somebody by doing an ad, but I did not see any ads for any resorts or anything targeting me for South Africa travel, you know? And we were looking. We were spending we had 4 days where we were just separated from our original group. We were there for 3 weeks. We had 10 days with them. And then we had 3 or 4 days where we had to plan the rest of our trip. And I was on everyone's pages looking at, what do? I go straight to their website. I go straight to their Instagram page, if they had one. And then I'm looking and trolling for food and offers, and liking certain things just to see if somebody would respond. And nobody responded. And same thing, you're not going to sit there and while you're traveling, send someone an email and hope for them to send you an email and then check your email while you're driving. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The whole thing, I'm on vacation. Guess what I'm using? I'm not using email. Guess what I'm using? Instagram.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's literally it's like hospitality travel's easiest little hook to get someone to come stay with them is to start a conversation on Instagram.
Yeah. I mean, and how, you want to go advanced pro move. People should start with the easy stuff. People who are already engaging, and if you're having a hard time figuring out how to engage folks, that's where you start. But how easy would it be then to look at adjacent resorts, restaurants, breweries, you name it, and look at their profiles? Because what's going to happen, when you visit the what was it called again? The elephant room, the elephant.
Oh, Gora Elephant Camp.
Elephant camp.
Gora.
Yeah. So when you're there at the elephant camp, I'm sure there are other businesses around there, whether they be their tour companies, safari companies, restaurants, wineries. If they see that you're posting and tagging, or even just liking a post from that, how difficult would it be then to click on your profile, look at your stories, and see that you're in the area? And just fire over a DM where it's just hey, Brady,
simple.
We love we love Elephant Camp too. It's amazing. Hope your experience goes awesome. And now all of a sudden you're on the radar, oh, I didn't even see this place. What's the South Africa Tiki Hut? Okay, cool. Let's go check it out.
Yeah, I'm 20 minutes. I'm 20 minutes from there. We stayed at this place called Tasala Treehouse, right? Another one of the Hunter Hotel group, and we're 20 minutes from Plettenberg, which is this beautiful bay, young, hip, kind of the younger vibe and more energetic of the garden route towns and townships.
Yeah.
And every single place had the same exact menu. And if we just posted on one, we would have been a target because there was only 15 restaurants in that town that had stuff that we wanted to eat. So all we had to do is just get one message from one of them, be we would love to see you. Tonight's special is ostrich tomahawk. What? We got some special things. Come check us out. Is there anything special you'd like to drink? That right there is a game-changing pro move. And I think that's what, it didn't exist. And it's not hard to understand that. Same thing here in the US was if you see me post about having a cocktail at my favorite Italian restaurant in Nashville, chances are I either live in Nashville and you can tell by my grid, or I am a visitor for Nashville and you can tell I'm using it on stories. So you should hit me up and say, hey, come in. I'll give you a free drink if you come in with your wife. You seem like you guys like good cocktails. Literally, you just got me for a round of appetizers and for one free drink that cost you $1.88. You know what I mean? That's a hell of a CAC for an operator in a restaurant to get someone like me to come in and spend, $50 on average per check per person.
Sure.
For $1.88, that's unheard of. And what do you have to do? You have to have someone who does engagement, what we call openers, setters, and, closers. And I think that was, one of the comments we got from one of our the last episode is that we were talking about that. We were talking about the breweries, the distilleries, and wineries. And one of them asked, well, what do we need to get this going? And I think like, what is the stages? Like, who do you need involved to do really good engagement at a base level? Like what does engagement look like? And the term was what? Openers, closers, and setters. So why don't I explain it to them? Let's break that down and kind of get to the nitty gritty of that.
Yeah, totally. So, and I think like, let's get into the specifics of what that means, because I think it'd be helpful, because I think so many people in hospitality, we're used to the roles that we have. We have a host, we have a front of house staff, we have a back of house staff, and then trying to figure out like, how does that translate online? But before we dive into that, I want to, you know who does this really well already in the old school world? And then I think this will make sense to how we do it with digital engagement, is Chick-fil-A. So, one of the big things that Chick-fil-A does before they decide when they're going to put up a new location, a new restaurant, they look to see if there's a Starbucks nearby. And the reason they do that is because they know a couple things are true. One, Starbucks spends buku bucks, like tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars every year, scouting different locations. They're looking at things like traffic, how much traffic is going through certain intersections on certain routes along highways, and even picking what side of the street they're going to be on in a busy intersection. They do all of this data and research because they're relying on what? Traffic, literal foot traffic and car traffic to show up at their establishment. Chick-fil-A is smart enough to go, oh, Starbucks has already done all this research. They know where all the people are going to be. Let's just put ourselves adjacent to a Starbucks, because then we're relying on the same kind of thing. Now let's translate that to social and digital. You were just in South Africa. We talked about, hey, if you posted just in one of these spots at Elephant Camp, now you're apt to be, you've kind of put yourself on the map, literally, as like, hey, I'm here experiencing this thing. Any business in this region now, if they were to reach out, DM you, comment, tag you, start a conversation, engage with you. That's what we mean when we talk about engagement. Like, it's the same thing as if you were driving through this intersection about to pick up Starbucks and then Chick-fil-A was across the street. So how do businesses do that? We know how to do that physically, and we know the importance of good real estate and location in any kind of hospitality business. Nobody's disputing that is like critical. But how do we do that now digitally? That's when openers, setters, and closers come into play, because first thing that we need to do is we need to identify where is the traffic, which instead of it being foot traffic and people driving cars and walking the streets, it's attention. It's our attention on this thing, right? That makes sense. How I guess we just need to look at how do we first spot the traffic, and that's attention online, and then what's the actual roles of these folks, and then we can show people how like those setters, closers are already on your staff. Like, you don't have to go hire someone else. Like, you actually already have the people that can just be trained to do this thing to capture that traffic.
Yeah, and I've seen that with certain clients, that we talk about. Somebody raises their hand, they put themselves on a pedestal. Like, we know the person who goes to Starbucks in the morning is probably going to go to Chick-fil-A for lunch, right? It's the same. They like consistent, tasty coffees, and they like consistent chicken sandwiches. And if they're in the right area and somebody else does the homework for you. So that's what I would say in that space, is that you call it your comp set. What Chick-fil-A had done and what Starbucks had done is they created a competitive set. That competitive set included, hey, let these guys do all the work for us. Now we can go park in the same neighborhood. And if somebody who is actually going to eat at these 3 different restaurants and they're posting about Starbucks every morning, guess what? That is our target customer, because all we have to do is just start engagement with them. And I think that's where, restaurants and breweries and resorts can do a good thing, because if they know that somebody is in Cape Town and they're going from Cape Town to Plattenberg Bay, there's 3 towns in between that are all going to be places that they're going to stay overnight. And if anybody stays in Plattsburgh or in Cape Town, those resorts in those middle cities should be watching those 2 competitive set hotels to see if anybody is posting there so they can say, hey, would you be interested in stopping by and checking out our property when you drive through? Oh, thanks for the offer. We're going the other direction. Let us know when you come back through. We'll roll out the red carpet, right? And I think, who does that person? Like, that person doesn't need to be like a $30, $50 a CEO or a GM of a restaurant. This needs to be somebody who is trained specifically on the voice of the owner of the business, the brand of the business, and speaks only to a brand tone and goes out and says, you know, we're going through this right now. Hey, Gabe, we see that you're here. We see that you like this. We see that you're traveling. You look like a man of style. Would you guys like to come check us out? And most people just want to be seen. And I think that engagement piece is, like you said, it's broken down. Opener, setter, and a closer. And those are 3 different positions. And the way that I understand it is that an opener is a person who does the spotting, right? They go out, they make everybody feel seen that's already following you, and they go out to your competitive market, and they are spotting people that look like your customers who might be in your vicinity and would be happy to have one of your offerings, right? If it's a cocktail, a bottle of wine, a special bagel, or a room looking at some elephants, right? They know who's out there. Now,
exactly.
that opener can also go all the way to closing, right? It's just a matter of how complicated and how much deal flow you have, right? But I think when it comes to a coffee, the person who's doing engagement can be the same person who's inviting people in for coffee. Come try us out. We see you're drinking coffee over at our competitor's place. They do great coffee. Like, I tell you, if I wasn't drinking coffee at my place, I'd be drinking coffee at their place. Like, you don't have to be competitive. You can be complimentary and just say, why don't you come try us out one time? I'll buy you a free coffee. If you don't like it, never come back. You know, and like, people love that type of engagement and being seen. And I think that's really cool when people are traveling to wineries and wine country, or they're going to breweries and posting on their stories. Like, these are things with such low cogs that an opener can be somebody who just spots someone with a $2 budget and says, hey, let me buy you a drink. Hey, come in for a free app. Hey, would you like to have a free glass of wine on us? I got a tasting, and I would love to have you and your 3 friends who look fun come and have a free wine tasting on us. And because they know that turns into bigger sales, right, down the road. And, you know, I think that's what engagement to me looks like these days. And I don't think it's an expensive cost. I mean, but I would say to do it well, you would want to have somebody on 40 hours a week. And, you know, what does that look like at $10 to $15 an hour? And that's, for me, the solution. And once that person starts making money, then you roll some of that into maybe hiring a second person who amplifies it. Maybe that's
right.
A closer.
Because if you're like, imagine like you're at you own a resort. So say, you know, a couple of my favorite spots. So Bacara Resort in Santa Barbara or Ojai Valley Inn. Who's the first person that anybody, and those are both, you know, high-end resorts, the first person that they are going to interact with when they show up at the resort? It's going to be like the valet. And I can tell you the valet is making minimum wage plus tips. You know, you've got, you know, some of those guys make really good money because of where they work and they're getting tips and things, but we're not talking, like you said, we're not talking about hiring this like top level skilled talent. You're hiring someone that can be trained to give an amazing experience, to still, you know, at that wage, like they can earn a great wage, but also give an incredible experience to that patron. You're that first interaction that they have. And imagine, you know, it would be as if with those resorts, yes, you could just greet the guests that are coming in your way, but imagine now that same valet or your bellman, you know, in between taking cars or there's a lull, starts 20 to 30 conversations online with people. So let's say you're visiting Bacara, Ojai Valley Inn could certainly, it's not that far. It's maybe 20 minutes away. A lot of people that go to Santa Barbara love to make the trip over to Ojai or vice versa. How difficult would it be to just start those conversations? And what would that be worth to your business if you were starting an extra 20 to 30 conversations a day? Not everybody's going to come in and buy. Not everyone's even going to reply and respond. But it wouldn't take that many to cause a significant bump. I mean, we talk about in service just the ability of adding on things like appetizers or cocktails or dessert and getting the ticket price up makes a big difference for most businesses. What if you did that by just adding a couple more people to, a couple more customers, a couple more patrons every day, every week, and you did that consistently because you have an engagement system which runs through, someone on your team, like you said, that's dedicated to this thing full time, that their whole job is just, hey, whether I'm doing this in person or I'm doing this online, I'm starting conversations.
And we haven't even talked about interns yet, right? We haven't even talked about, is your business qualified to run internships? If so, you have instant opportunity. And it doesn't have to be an unpaid internship. It could be a $10 an hour internship. But it gives people, first, how to greet people, how to find customers, who are your customers, what to look for. And you're basically learning who everybody is in your ecosystem. And the person who wants to come and intern for you, they kind of want to work for you. So can they follow the script? Can they do a good job and stay on task? And at the end of the day, what did you It's a number. All right, what's $12 an hour times 40 hours a week? I mean, what do we, what's that number every month? And then how many coffees did they give away? Or how many appetizers did they give away? Or how many free cocktails they give away? And then how much revenue did those tickets generate?
Right.
That is the number, right? And like you said, it's incremental, doing it daily. If you're not doing it, you're widening the gap on loss. For the people who are doing it daily, are just taking your customers. Because 100%. Those people just feel hey, somebody just reached out to me and said they give me a free coffee. They know I like posting about this mocha latte trifecta matcha, every day. But have you tried our coconut, tea tree oil matcha? Come on over. I'll give you a free one. And they're like, oh, that thing's so good. They never would have jumped unless we reached out to them. And then they get it sucked into the brand muffin, and then they buy a bag of beans, and then they buy a plant, and then they buy a mug. You know what I mean? Over time, that turns into a lifetime value customer. And that engagement person feels comfortable because they sat there, they brought them in, they see them posting, and now they know that they've built a relationship with the new customer that goes on to their life of that brand, and that's, I think, what that incremental, piece is, where if you're not doing it, you're losing.
Yeah. Now, you talk about openers, setters, and closers. So maybe let's get specific. What do those three different roles, what literally do those people do, and who might that translate to that might already be working in the business in hospitality, or who we need to bring in as an intern? So tell me, break down the difference between what an opener does versus a setter versus a closer.
For me, an opener needs to be able to follow. For me, an opener needs to follow instructions. Okay. They stay on brand. They stay to a script. They go out and look for, every time somebody comments on your outbound, what you're doing from social. So every time a business does a piece of content, they're spotting for comments, new followers, likes, and an opportunity to engage. When any type of engagement on our own outgoing content is present, any type of engagement there ends up with some kind of, I see you, here's a compliment, thank you for following us, we want to make you be seen and feel good, right? It's a feel good position. And I call it the compliment ladder, right? So that job is really just take care of all of our content. Nothing goes dry.
Yeah. So
We
the,
don't
so the
ghost
opener is
any-
looking for opportunity to make introductions and just say, hey, hey, we see you, whether they're actively going out because you commented or liked on a competitor's post or on your own content. They're just going out there making sure that someone doesn't, show up and leave a comment and then they get ghosted. It's the whole title of the show. They're making sure that people don't get ghosted, that they feel seen. You're literally just sending messages, following people, responding to comments.
100%. And remember that you tried to mix the two buckets there. And I'm just saying that this person is just our outgoing content. Just the content goes out, is never ghosted, right? Yep. Rule number one, make sure that everybody gets a feel, right? If you comment, like, or share our stuff, if you share us, we give you more love. If you just like us, we give you love. If you comment, we comment back, right? And we do it with meaning and intent. So that's the first job, right? Is to like, and then you've got what we call the spotting and the avatar, or what we call the Dream 100. Like, this is where
this the setter?
You're going.
Are we done with the opener? So we did the opener, and we're talking about the setter now?
No, we're talking about just the opener.
Oh, okay.
So opener basically makes sure that whatever content we put out still always performs. Because once we're done with the day, right, and we don't have anyone more like, that might be an hour in the morning, it might be 10 minutes, it might be all day, depending on how many followers you have and how well your content performed, right? Might need another opener. But let's just say we're an average business. Now, the other part of the day, once all of our content's taken care of, that opener is going out and looking at the other businesses, the Starbucks, the Chick-fil-A's, the other resorts, and they're going out and poking around. They're not following people. They're just looking for customers that look like our customers and having a reason based on who we see them as a profile, as a person. We recognize who they are. We know Gabe is a dog person. He loves his coffee. He's got kids. We've got a business that we sell coffee, toys, and chicken sandwiches. Gabe is our guy because we know his kids like chicken. I know Gabe likes coffee, and we got a dog park. I see that on his grid. I'm going to say, Gabe, what would be more important? Would you want a free chicken sandwich or a couple of free coffees? We'd love to have you guys come in sometime. For me, but we don't start off with the hook, right? We don't go after him with the jugular. We basically say, we go out to Gabe, we see Gabe, we're like, wow. And we like 5 or 6 things that Gabe's doing, right? So I go out and look at your post. I'm like, Gabe, cool stuff, man. And then I might make a comment on something that really makes sense for me to make a comment on. Gabe, love that, man. Like, that chicken sandwich is the best in town. Hands down, the best chicken sandwich. And my favorite too. No selling. You're like, you come back, you like that comment. 2 days later, I like your stuff. I like your stuff. I like your stuff again. And then I say, Gabe, I just have to say what you guys do with my ghosted guest and your kids, everything, like, you guys are the fun package. So keep shining. Really appreciate you. You're like, man, this coffee shop's really got my number. I like these guys. And you go back and you look at my page, the coffee shop team. You look at the person who's running the engagement and you say, hey, thanks again. The moment that you DM us, then it's time to say, hey, you've engaged with us. You offered up your time. Then we want to say, hey, thank you so much. What would make best work for you? Would you like a coffee or a free chicken sandwich? We'd love to have you in. And you're like, wow, you're already warm and fuzzy. That's what I think an opener's role is, right? Mm-hmm. It's what we're doing from making sure that no one that we're sending messaging out with our own content ever goes unseen, and then going out and looking at new people that we want to be part of and the community that we want to build, like attracting a new tribe.
Yeah, and making connections and starting conversations.
So what does that opener need? They need to know exactly who your avatar is. They need to know who your dream clients are. They need to know how much time they can spend and what is the script that they need to follow. Because this is not make-believe stuff. This is like extremely detailed scripting, Mm-hmm. So the only thing that I can change throughout is the words chicken and dogs. Like, it's a scripted compliment to Gabe, But I just put the word in I know you got kids and I know you like coffee, and come on in.
What's the, so that's the opener. What's the difference between them and the setter?
The setter is, I think, typically when the person responds back, says, hey, thanks so much for noticing me, then typically depending on how much volume of that you have, that would be the trigger to pass over to a setter. And the setter would be, hey, Gabe, why don't you guys come in? It would be taken out of the hands of the opener, and the opener would then pass it on to the setter. Now, depending on the setter's role, the setter then has a different script, right? Gabe, what makes the most enjoyable cup of coffee in the world? Gabe, what's the most expensive cup of coffee in the world you've ever had? Gabe, what's the best chicken sandwich?
Help me understand. So what's the goal? So the goal of the opener is to start the conversation. What's the goal of the setter then? So I understand they're going to take the baton, but like, what are they trying to
That's why I get confused sometimes, because it feels like depending on the ticket price of what's happening, I think like that the setter and the closer are kind of one and the same. But it just depends. Like the setter also is do you need a dinner reservation? And then if you get a dinner reservation, the setter would help you set the dinner reservation. And then the closer would be the team on site who actually service the meal.
How I've always seen it. So like if you look at, if we think
so the chances are you've already have some of these things in motion already. You know what I mean? It's just that we're missing the engagement person, the opener.
Which is the start, which is like, if you don't start the conversation, like you can't get the booking. If you don't get the booking, you can't sell the experience, like your toast.
No, it's like, let's go straight to third base. And I did this like analogy on a post the other day. I was like, you got first base, second base, third base, maybe a shortstop. But everybody wants to get to home plate. But we forget that they're like, we just want to start at third base. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah, because I feel like most the businesses that we run into, we end up talking to, if literally all they changed, they changed nothing else other than this opener position, and they had maybe a couple of metrics that they were looking at every day to measure, hey, are we doing engagement? Doesn't have to be like rocket science. It might be, how many new conversations are we starting? And what's the reply rate? So like, how many of the conversations we start are we actually getting proof of life back, right? Maybe those are the two things you measure. Like if you just had the opener position, I mean, I feel pretty confident saying most of the business we talk to, if they did that consistently over a period of time, 30, 60, 90 days, they're going to see a bump in sales. Even if they didn't have all the other pieces in play, just because you're creating goodwill in your market and you're getting in front of more people, and you're going to be top of mind with people who want what you have. I mean, am I off base by thinking that? Could it be that simple, at least to get started? And I know there's like so much that we can do to like squeeze every bit of juice out of that engagement. But even if we didn't, even if it wasn't optimal, just by having an opener, go out there, start new conversations every day, give those compliments. I mean,
it happens every day you see it every day. Like, do I need somebody dressed up in a gorilla suit on the side of the road, swinging a banner around? No, I wouldn't do that for my business. But do you think they're doing it because it doesn't do anything? They're doing it because it incrementally adds value to their bottom line. Like, it is this expense that they generated a reason to do it, and it does move business. Like, so
there's a chick when we lived in Bend who she became kind of like Bend famous, which Bend, Oregon, not that big. I think when we moved out, population's around 80, 90,000, something like that. Small little kind of resort ski town. And this chick, she's probably like mid 60s, like platinum blonde hair, and always was on the same intersection on the corner, swinging one of those signs for a pizza shop. And she was rocking out too. Like she didn't just like have the sign, holding the sign, or wasn't just like, you see those guys that are spinning the signs and they can do some cool tricks. Like she was into it. she'd had the headphones on, and she was like, it would be like her guitar. She's air guitaring on this sign. She's spinning around. She's like waving at people. Like she's literally driving and engaged. She's not just like phoning in, oh, if we put up a sign, people are going to be more. It's like putting up a billboard. Like, sure, you would get that. But she actually taught it like, treated it like engagement to where she kind of became a meme within Bend, which like I know drove more. Like, they wouldn't have been doing that for whatever the 4.5 years that I lived there. Like she was out there every weekend for 4.5 years. Like didn't miss. Didn't matter what the weather was. They're not going to do that. She's not going to do that if it's not paying off. And it's the same.
But if you don't do it, but if you don't do it, you're just creating a gap, right?
Yeah, you don't realize. You're like, oh, like that's the gap between that's opportunity cost. If we were doing it, we'd be making X. We're not doing it. And now there's just a gap between us and everyone else that actually is doing the work.
And I would guarantee you that on Tuesday's lunch to Tuesday 6 o'clock, whatever business that was, they're like, that pays for her to be out there all week. Otherwise, we'd be dead in the water. And I think that's what people are missing when it comes to like, well, I don't want to bring on this person. It sounds like too much work. Well, that's what's been causing you to be where you are now, right? And you're going to have to spend money to make money. And if you're not doing something and it feels right that you should be doing it, like not ghosting your guest, or it feels right to make people feel good about what they're posting and make them feel seen, and you're not doing it, then you're doing something wrong. And if you're not investing in changing that around, then you're going to consistently stay at the same exact place, if not like dissolve your position as a marketplace leader.
Yeah, 1,000%. That's the same thing as every one of those resorts, bars, restaurants in South Africa saying, hey, like why would we have a different drink menu? Why would we bring in a mixologist or even a consultant to put something together? Because like what we're doing right now is working. But we know that if they just put in that time and money, they hired a consultant, a mixologist, they put together a better drink menu, now instantly they have something different from everybody else around them. That's going to make them remarkable, which means people are going to remark about them, which is mean they're going to sell more drinks. They're going to have more visitors, more patrons. They're going to make more. That's that gap. So sure, like, is it work in that case to go hire a mixologist and actually make some decisions, and maybe now your person that's ordering all of your inventory and food supply is going to have to adjust their plan. Like, oh, I'm used to getting these ingredients from these providers. Now I've got to go find, I've got to find ginger beer now. And like, I didn't have to do that before. Like, yeah, it's going to be some extra work, but is it going to be worth it? Well, absolutely. That's the cost of being remarkable.
But
it doesn't have to doesn't have to be crazy.
But I don't think it needs to be remarkable. I think it just needs to be like present. And I see this like,
I'm
hotel,
seeing
like
it will
resorts,
be doing it because nobody else is doing this. Like if you're present, you being present and connected is going to make you remarkable. That's what I'm saying.
Well, what I'm seeing is like from a resort owner's perspective, right? Going into resort speak. All right, well, I don't need a mixologist. I just need a recipe for someone to follow. I need a photo and a recipe. Like we're making chocolate cake. You can tell when it's wrong. You can tell when it's right. And it's the person who's making it. I mean, you can't have housekeeping go in to make a chocolate cake and then go over to make cocktails and then go to run the front desk and then run reception too. Like this is too much. You have to have somebody who's focused on what their task is. But what I guess I'm truly trying to state is if you have a recipe at a resort or a hotel and they get every day you fill up their conditioner, their shampoo, and their lotion. You put 1 bar of soap. You make the bed look exactly the same. You do X, Y, and Z. You shampoo, you floor, you Windex the walls, right? You change the sheets. Like it's a formula. That's the exact same formula for a cocktail. I don't need somebody to go in there and make the cocktail taste completely different every single time because, it's like, well, some days he's the front of reception and some nights we put him in the bar. And then sometimes Brady goes in there as the owner of the rest of the hotel and makes drinks, which taste completely different than the wife of the resort who makes drinks too. Like because
Yeah, it's,
it
it's a
should just
checklist,
be a
it's a
recipe.
recipe, and yeah, it's the same for engagement, right? Like that, it doesn't have to be this like you don't have to find someone who is naturally gifted at this. You just need a recipe for them to follow.
And it's the same thing with engagement, right? It's just the same opener. It's
Yep.
you can have somebody who does housekeeping do engagement because all they have to do is do the exact same thing again and again. And guess what? They know who their customers are. They see them every day. They're probably the most personable with their customers every day because they see their rooms. They go through their bathrooms. They move their toothbrush. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it literally is the most personal person in the place. And they're not making the most money, but you could have, two people learn a new skill set, and just by giving them a script that says, hey, here's 2 pages of a Google Doc, go out and here's our Instagram account. We don't have time for this right now, because they know that they don't put 5 bars of soap in each room. That's a waste of time and money. Right? They can follow instructions. And I think that's what it is. And I think sometimes when you see variation in cocktail programs and inconsistency, it's when bartenders try to get a little bit too fancy and they like to put their own little spin on things. And I'm like, honestly, I don't need your spin. I just want what the recipe calls for. And sometimes you look at the menu and it's like, well, there's supposed to be watermelon in this drink. I didn't think the watermelon fit, so I didn't put it in there. Well, thanks. I would order something different.
That's why there's a recipe, and I think there's times for that creativity, but something that needs to be done day in, day out that relies on cultivating an experience that's going to be better and better for every client, every patron that kind of comes through your doors. That's not the area to wing it, right? That's the place literally to have a recipe. It's the reason why people come to see you, because they know what to expect. And even if they don't know exactly like the ins and outs of like all the little nitty gritty details, they're looking for some of that surprise. And then you can even kind of bake in how you create surprise. But it's because you have a recipe to do it. So like what
100%.
I'm hearing, yeah.
No, I think you're saying 100%. It's just like, you're just starting earlier. You're not waiting for the people to come as a committed reservation. Start that journey earlier with an engagement person. The moment that you send out a message into the universe, the moment you plug something out there as a call sign, a bat signal. The problem with Batman was that there was the bat signal in the sky. You save my analogies because sometimes they're horrible. Heather hates them. And I think they're the best. But it'd be like...
I do love a good Brady analogy. Let's go bat signal.
And you got bat signal, right? And then it's like only Batman can show up. You're not going to wait for the Penguin to show up or Joker or somebody else. You're going to hope that Batman is there, right? Yeah. But the thing is, it was like whatever, one of the Dark Knight or whatever, where there was like all the Batman impersonators. They were not like Batman. They didn't dress like Batman. They didn't look like Batman. But in the shadows, you would and might not tell the difference. And you have to start the journey just a little bit earlier because people are putting out that bat signal, and you have to be able to answer every single person that responds to it, right? And it doesn't matter. It's not the owner. You don't have to be Batman to put the bat signal out. So don't be afraid to post. Just be afraid to post if you're not being a man to answer or to engage with them.
Yeah. If you're not going to do engagement, you shouldn't be posting at all. Like there's no reason to it, because you actually stand a bigger chance of actually doing harm to your business by not responding, because now you're sending a signal before someone ever makes a reservation or even decides to show up that you don't care. So it'd be better to not post at all. But obviously what we're arguing for is
what's my favorite one? Hey, we don't answer our phones. We don't pick up our phones. We only do reservations at a certain time of the day, like 1 month out. Like that just sets such a weird vibe with me. I get it. You guys are busy, right? And are you trying to save money? Is it and your social media is run by somebody who doesn't talk to people? But when you're on site, you're just, you flood me with bills and invoices and cost and, and details. So I just don't know why people don't start that journey a little bit earlier. And it's always been like a pet peeve when people take their phones offline as a high end
Totally.
service provider.
And most of the time, like, that it's coming. I was actually talking with a client yesterday who gets really busy during the holiday season, but the week of Thanksgiving is always slower. And so I kind of joked, I was like, hey, well, next year, like, why don't we just go to Hawaii during the week of Thanksgiving? Because like, it's going to be like, she's like, oh, that's a good idea. Because like, because normally she and her staff, a lot of them end up taking breaks around the holidays, even though it's busier, just because that's the default of what they do. And it's the same thing with knowing. Again, we tend to know when there's going to be the rush, when things are going to slow down. And so, like, why wouldn't, in that example, why wouldn't you just have an extra body when it's going to be busy to answer the phone? Because you're trying to overload your staff with like, who normally, the host usually answers that, but they're going to be busy coordinating all the tables and helping to bus to get people through and still provide. Oh, sure. Yeah. If they're going to be tied up, like, then you should solve that problem. It doesn't mean that we ignore the problem and just go, like, we throw up our hands. We're not going to do it. We're not going to respond. That's where, as the business owner, you go, okay, well, if we're generating this demand, that's a great problem to have. How many businesses wouldn't love to have that problem of too many people reaching out to them? All right, let's just put some simple systems in place to engage back with them.
So you're saying don't have a person who answers the phones regularly because you're sold out of reservations, and don't by any means take reservations further into the future. Just create such a high demand. Like, show me, like, I want to do speed dating with all these service providers who think that this is a great idea. And I just want to say, explain the model to me because I don't get it. Like, if you picked up your phone and I left something at your restaurant, I don't want to wait 3 days after a $580 bill with me and my date. I want to talk to somebody there because I left my credit card at the bar. Please pick up your phone now.
Totally.
Right? Don't make me try to figure out how to get a hold of you guys. And, I think that's just, for me,
so
in
that
it's
example, like what in that example, what I would say is, and to your point with the intern piece, it's like, okay, hey, we know when our rush is, and we know the days of the week, the times of day, and maybe even the times of year, the seasons. So it's like, okay, during that season, maybe we hire an intern. Their only job is to be there when we know it's going to be busy to answer the phone. And their job is not to take reservations because we're probably going to be booked during that time, but it's to take the weight off of the host and the rest of the staff so that when I call because I left my credit card, or when I call because I didn't make reservations and I'm trying to make some last minute plans, somebody actually picks up the phone and talks with me. I was watching an interview with Simon Sinek. I forget who he was talking about, but he was explaining the difference in human psychology between a couple different situations. Situation one, and he was using an airline as an example. You call the airline, you go, I've got my flight out tomorrow. I need to change it. I've got to get, we ended up, shutting down our trade show ended up finishing early. I want to get back home to my family. Can we bump my flight up? And the operator goes, I'm so sorry, we can't, because of the class of ticket that you have, we can't change your flight, and we're booked out. That's scenario one. The customer's pissed. They're like, well, obviously you're no help, right? Because they didn't put any effort in. And then the second situation, same thing. Person calls, conference ended early, want to get home to my family. Can you help bump me up? Oh, you know what? Brady, let me see what we can do for you with your class of ticket. I can't. Typically, we can't swap those out, but let me look and see if there's anything I can do. Click, 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 click. Okay. No, I'm not having any luck. Let me check with my supervisor. Okay, hold on one sec. Hey, what can we do? You spend some time back and forth. You're really trying to troubleshoot with them. Then come back and go, you know what? I've tried everything. I've tried this, this, and this. It doesn't look like I'm going to be able to do it. I'm so sorry I wasn't able to help you. I know you want to be back home with your family. Just the mere fact of like putting in that effort tends to get a better response from people. They still didn't get the result that they want, but because you put in the effort and the energy and we're a real human, and I'm not saying to like fake that stuff either. Like don't fake click on the keyboard and fake go get my manager. So if I'm in a restaurant and I know it's going to be busy, it's just one, having someone that's there to pick up. Hey, we're slammed right now, but yeah, you're looking to get in tonight. Let me check and see if I can get you in. We're trying to move everything around. We're already 15 minutes behind or 30 minutes behind schedule because we had a larger party that came in. Is there any way for me to get you in at a later date? Oh no, you have to have plans tonight. No worries. Hey, I know this place down the street. I'd be happy to put in a call with, the chef owner I know there. Let me see if they've got a table. Does this menu sound like it would be good for you? Right? You could take that concierge approach, and yeah, technically you're missing out on that experience, that revenue that night.
You're not missing.
You're not going
to miss out on revenue. Yeah, you're not missing out on it. What you just did is you
created... Who are they going to
created...
talk about for the next 3 months, 6 months, year? Like anytime they come back to that, they're like, "Oh my gosh, I tried to get in at this Thai place that I heard was amazing, and they actually set me up somewhere else because they were slammed." That's the kind of goodwill and equity that you create in the marketplace when you do this. When you go, okay, we're not going to ignore it. We're not going to turn the phones off. We are going to engage even when it's busy, and we're going to have a system to do that. That's when you win.
Heard. I'd end on that, man. That's a good point. I think it's a very important state to be in, is like, let people know that you're here for them and their experience, and not to like show like, we'll talk to you when it's time for us to talk to you, Yeah,
exactly. Y'all are in the hospitality business. You're incredible at hospitality. Just take it to your engagement online.
Boom.
I think that's the pod.
That's the pod.